Chapter 8. The Dharma Door of Non-Duality. Then the Lichavi Vimalakirti asked those bodhisattvas, "Good sirs, please explain how the bodhisattvas enter the Dharma door of non-duality." The bodhisattva Dharma Vikurvana declared, "Noble sir, production and destruction are two, but what is not produced and does not occur cannot be destroyed. Thus, the attainment of the tolerance of the birthlessness of things is the entrance into non-duality."
I just want to say this is when you put out the mic and do a mic drop.
This seems like it would be a good t-shirt. The attainment of the tolerance of the birthlessness of things is the entrance into non-duality. .com.
Agreed.
I've had a hard time going on to the next one because there was a lot packed into that. Okay. The Bodhisattva Shrigupata declared, "I and mine are two. If there is no presumption of self, there will be no possessiveness. Thus, the absence of the presumption is the entrance into non-duality." The Bodhisattva Sikhuta declared, "Defilement and purification are two. When there is thorough knowledge of defilement, there will be no conceit about purification. The path leading to the complete conquest of all conceit is the entrance into non-duality." The Bodhisattva Sunakasatra declared, "Distraction and attention are two. When there is no distraction, there will be no attention, no meditation, and no mental intensity. Thus, the absence of mental intensity is the entrance into non-duality."
Okay, I'm assuming all of those are going to be hats to go with the t-shirt. The Bodhisattva Subahu declared, "Bodhisattva spirit and disciple spirit are two. When both are seen to resemble an illusory spirit, there is no Bodhisattva spirit, nor any disciple spirit. Thus, the sameness of natures of spirits is the entrance into non-duality." The Bodhisattva Anamisa declared, "Grasping and non-grasping are two. What is not grasped is not perceived, and what is not perceived is neither presumed nor repudiated. Thus, the inaction and non-involvement of all things is the entrance into non-duality."
The Bodhisattva Sunitra declared, "Uniqueness and characterlessness are two. Not to presume or construct something is neither to establish its uniqueness, nor to establish its characterlessness. To penetrate the equality of these two is to enter non-duality." The Bodhisattva Pusya declared, "Good and evil are two. Seeking neither good nor evil, the understanding of the non-duality of the significant and the meaningless is the entrance into non-duality."
The Bodhisattva Simha declared, sinfulness and sinlessness are two. By means of the diamond-like wisdom that pierces to the quick, not to be bound or liberated, is the entrance into non-duality.
The Bodhisattva Simhameti declared, to say this is impure and this is immaculate makes for duality. One who, attaining equanimity, forms no conception of impurity or immaculateness, I got lost. I'm sorry. Immaculateness makes for duality. One who, attaining equanimity, forms no conception of impurity or immaculateness, yet it is not utterly without conception, has equanimity without any attainment of equanimity. He enters the absence of conceptual knots. Thus, he enters into non-duality.
The Bodhisattva Sukadimudra declared, to say this is happiness and that is misery is dualism. One who is free of all calculations through the extreme purity of gnosis, his mind is aloof, like empty space, and thus he enters into non-duality.
Can I ask a question? Do you think then the path to this is the kind of a rigorous examination of the two so that ultimately you can see their non-distinction?
I think that's one way to do that. I mean, I think that goes with the Zen teaching of Dogen about to study the way is to study the self. And to study the self is to forget the self. I think that's one way of studying, but I don't think it's the only path.
Mm-hmm.
I was approaching it like the coin, so that we have each side is the coin and we're looking at the whole coin so that we have one coin, even if we're calling it two sides.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
The way I was seeing it was like a mountain or even a volcano. Because the thing is that the most, as distracted as a volcano can be, it is creating new ground. And that ground is actually very, very fertile, which is why we humans like to live around volcanoes. So is the volcano evil or good or neither? It just is.
Mm-hmm.
I see your point, Emily, too. Like he just keeps listing, all these different things. Like he's going to give you enough examples until you exhaust yourself with all the examples. Is that what you were kind of getting at?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Yeah. I was just curious where it was going, I guess. Thank you.
Okay. The Bodhisattva Narayana declared to say this is mundane and that is transcendental is dualism. This world has the nature of voidness, so there's neither transcendence nor involvement, neither progress nor standstill, thus neither to transcend nor to be involved, neither to go nor to stop. This is the entrance into non-duality.
The Bodhisattva Dantamati declared life and liberation are dualistic. Having seen the nature of life, one neither belongs to it, nor is one utterly liberated from it. Such understanding is the entrance into non-duality. The Bodhisattva Pratyakadastra declared destructible and indestructible are dualistic. What is destroyed is ultimately destroyed. What is ultimately destroyed does not become destroyed. Hence, it is called indestructible. What is indestructible is instantaneous, and what is instantaneous is indestructible. The experience of such is called the entrance into the principle of non-duality.
A question, why is indestructible the same as instantaneous?
I have no idea. I don't know how those two things follow.
Perhaps in the translating, because if you look at something from the source, you cannot create it or destroy it. So it's what is indestructible is instantaneous or is in and of itself the source or the purity of the source. And of course, the source is indestructible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
And also, Anne, I appreciate you acknowledging not knowing.
Always.
The Bodhisattva Samantagupataya declared self and selflessness are dualistic. Since the existence of self cannot be perceived, what is there to be made selfless? Thus, the non-dual vision of their nature is the entrance into non-duality. The Bodhisattva Deva declared, knowledge and ignorance are dualistic. The natures of ignorance and knowledge are the same. For ignorance is undefined, incalculable, and beyond the sphere of thought. The realization of this is the entrance into non-duality. The Bodhisattva Darsana declared, matter itself is void. Voidness does not result from the destruction of matter, but the nature of matter itself voidless. Therefore, to speak of voidness on one hand and of matter of a sensation or of intellect or of motivation or consciousness on the other is entirely dualistic. Consciousness itself is voidness. Voidness does not result from the destruction of consciousness, but the nature of consciousness is itself voidness. Such understanding of the five compulsive aggregates and the knowledge of them as such by means of gnosis is the entrance into non-duality. What are the five compulsive aggregates?
I think those are the things he mentions earlier: sensation, intellect, motivation, consciousness, and something about matter. If we scroll back up a little bit, Kim, you scroll, no, not quite that far. Let's see. Come scroll back.
One sentence above that, yeah.
Yeah, one sentence above it. Speak of voidness on the one hand, matter, sensation, intellect, motivation, consciousness. That's only four. So I don't know what the five would be, the five compulsive aggregates. I don't know what those
I think it's consciousness. So there are five. You see, you have matter one, sensation two, intellect three, motivation four, and then consciousness.
Yeah, if you include matter, that's true.
Okay, so those are seen as compulsions.
Compulsive aggregates.
So AI says form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness.
That maps pretty well.
Okay. Oh, Donna, I see you're here. Did you want to slip in and read?
No, Donna said she didn't want to read tonight.
Okay. The Bodhisattva Prabhaketu declared, to say that the four main elements are one thing and the etheric space element another is dualistic. The four main elements are themselves the nature of space. The past itself is also the nature of space. The future itself is also the nature of space. Likewise, the present itself is also the nature of space. The gnosis that penetrates the elements in such a way is the entrance into non-duality. The Bodhisattva Sumati declared, I and form are dualistic. To understand the I correctly and not to have attachment, aversion, or confusion with regard to form, that is called peace. Similarly, ear and sound, nose and smell, tongue and taste, body and touch, and mind and phenomena are all dualistic. But to know the mind and to be neither attached, averse, nor confused with regard to phenomena, that is called peace. To live in such peace is to enter into non-duality. So is all of this kind of summed up by saying not two but one, and then you're there in peace?
Easy.
Easy. We're buying you a dictionary for Christmas.
Could we read that paragraph one more time, please?
Sure. The Bodhisattva Sumati declared, I and form are dualistic. To understand the I correctly and not to have attachment, aversion, or confusion with regard to form, that is called peace. Similarly, ear and sound, nose and smell, tongue and taste, body and touch, and mind and phenomena are all dualistic. But to know the mind and to be neither attached, averse, nor confused with regard to phenomena, that is called peace. To live in such peace is to enter into non-duality. So if you're engaging the five senses, you by definition are dealing with non-duality. But there is a peace because there is something beyond the five senses.
So, okay, it's just, I may be so wrong with this, but I have to ask. So last week, when we were talking about the monk that was put to test by the woman that was supporting him, and he felt, did he feel because he was actually not in touch with all of his senses? he was so detached
Oh, you
that
mean he could carry the woman because he wasn't residing just
no,
in his
no,
senses?
no. The other monk, the one that he had been there for 20 years and this woman was taking care of him, feeding him, all of that. And then she sent the granddaughter to test him. And he said, no, thank you. And she went ahead and burned down the hut and threw him out because she was saying, you have failed.
Yeah, yeah, because he decided there was a right way and a wrong way,
Hmm.
that his senses were wrong, his desires were wrong, and to be pure and unfeeling was to be holy. I mean, that's what I took from that story. I'm sure that's a very superficial understanding of that koan.
I, that's, I'm with you on that one.
But it does remark about duality and about relationship and about understanding and how you can be attached or detached from something connected to the senses, but not in a way that is clear minded, if you will, or that gets you past the pitfalls. Because you can get caught in quote not clinging, but that doesn't mean that you understand what it is or that you truly let go. You can get caught in the distraction of the senses or distraction of not being with the senses.
That's that grasping and not grasping thing. That if you do
Yeah.
it one or the other, uh, yeah, I like the way that you explained that, and that touch, like, because righteousness, like he was being righteousness, you can't be righteousness unless you are engaging in one or another, unless you're creating the other.
We comment this in another group, but I remember mentioning that the senses has to do with acknowledging that all of that is mind. How to say? Acknowledging that the senses connect with the mind and is an action of the mind, the feeling and the taste and all of that. So that's when you are, for me, able to detach, to acknowledge that's the mind.
I also remember that Vilamak- Vilamakirti, or whom I think it was him, obviously. Um, the thing is that he also mentioned last week that to be in the Tathagata, well, or the Tathagata included even all of what is considered the worst.
Right, nothing is excluded.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not just the good stuff, it's everything.
Hmm.
And us thinking that there's good stuff and bad stuff is kind of missing the point. But that's the way our minds work. I've started to think it's because we're bilaterally symmetrical, that our minds are sort of bilaterally symmetrical also. That's the way that humans think. It's very hard to not do that.
The thing is that the thought that just came into my head is if we were to have what would be considered a perfect human without anger, without fear, without what is considered the bad stuff, it would not be human.
Or perfect.
Agreed.
Well, and I mean, it all started because we had to be, fight or flight, right? Is it safe or is it not safe? That was the original duality. If I go into that cave, it will give me safety because I won't get rained on or I won't get whatever. Or if I go into that cave, will an animal come out and grab me? So that's how the brain started to make those decisions. I'm sorry.
Donna, Donna had a comment in the chat. She said, I'm wondering if it is anytime you create an either or then that becomes duality, no matter what it is, or even the creation of degrees along the spectrum of two opposing elements is duality. Should I keep reading? Or who's next?
Yeah, Ed is finished, so it's Emily.
Okay. The Bodhisattva Aksyamati declared the dedication of generosity for the sake of attaining omniscience is dualistic. The nature of generosity is itself omniscience, and the nature of omniscience itself is total dedication. Likewise, it is dualistic to dedicate morality, tolerance, effort, meditation, and wisdom for the sake of omniscience. Omniscience is the nature of wisdom, and total dedication is the nature of omniscience. Thus, the entrance into this principle of uniqueness is the entrance into non-duality.
The Bodhisattva Gamher declared, it is dualistic to say that voidness is one thing, signlessness another, and wishlessness still another. What is void has no sign. What has no sign has no wish. Where there is no wish, there is no process of thought, mind, or consciousness. To see the doors of all liberations, in the door of one liberation is the entrance into non-duality. I'm just wondering when Vimalakirti is going to step in and what's he going to do with this discussion? We'll see.
Definitely. The Bodhisattva Sandendraya declared, it is dualistic to say Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. The Dharma is itself the nature of the Buddha, the Sangha itself is the nature of the Dharma, and all of them are uncompounded. The uncompounded is infinite space, and the process of all things are equivalent to infinite space. Adjustments to this is the entrance into non-duality.
The Bodhisattva Apratihata declared, it is dualistic to refer to aggregates and to the cessation of aggregates. Aggregates themselves are cessation. Why? The egoistic views of aggregates, being unproduced themselves, do not exist ultimately. Hence, such views do not rely, conceptualize these are aggregates or this aggregate is. Ultimately, they have not such discriminative constructions and no such conceptualizations. Therefore, such views have themselves the nature of cessation. Non-occurrence and non-destructions are the entrance into non-duality.
The Bodhisattva Suvinita declared physical, verbal, and mental vows do not exist dualistically. Why? These things have the nature of inactivity. The nature of inactivity of the body is the same as the nature of inactivity of speech, whose nature of inactivity is the same as the nature of inactivity of the mind. It is necessary to know and to understand this fact of the ultimate inactivity of all things, for this knowledge is the entrance into non-duality. I think I'm going to read that again because I seriously got lost. The Bodhisattva Suvinita declared physical, verbal, and mental vows do not exist dualistically. Why? These things have the nature of inactivity. The nature of inactivity of the body is the same as the nature of inactivity of speech, whose nature of inactivity is the same as the nature of inactivity of the mind. It is necessary to know and to understand this fact of the ultimate inactivity of all things, for this knowledge is the entrance into non-duality. Could somebody explain to me what are the physical vows, the verbal vows, and the mental vows?
Yeah, that's a question. What is a physical vow? What is a verbal vow? What is a mental vow? And how do they have the nature of inactivity? That doesn't, I don't understand that at all.
So
Maybe
is this kind of like they're all one, kind of like the volcano, you know? Like we think of them as like active things. However, to only see them as active things would be one side of the coin, and the inactivity is the other side of the coin. Is that what
so,
it means?
but wait, my question is, sorry, I stumbled a lot there. Physical, verbal, and mental vows do not exist dualistically because these things have the nature of inactivity. I vow not to kill. So that doesn't exist dualistically because I'm not doing something. Is that what's happening there?
Oh.
Yeah, like they're one side of something. They're not two sides. I don't know.
That sounds really plausible. I mean, I like it when you get down to the logic points, Emily.
Wisdom.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all, that they don't exist dualistically, but then we talk about inactivity and the inactivity of all things. Yeah. I don't know why he even started with vows. Why not just say all things are or have the nature of inactivity? Everything. But who knows?
Is it because you're taking a vow and the vow itself is neither physical nor not physical, neither verbal or not verbal, neither mental nor not mental, then that is not dualistic because the vow is the vow does not contain the either or. It's the vow is the one that I'm kind of clinging to in that sentence, the vow.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep reading here and see what the next bodhisattva has to say.
Boy, they're gonna make it so clear. We're gonna understand everything. You see. Just wait.
Just like Shakya, just like Shokhaku Ugamura. The bodhisattva Punya Kasetra declared, it is dualistic to consider actions meritorious, sinful, or unmoving. The non-undertaking of meritorious, sinful, and unmoving actions is not dualistic. The intrinsic nature of all such actions, and I guess he's talking about the taking the actions and non-undertaking the actions. The intrinsic nature of all such actions is voidness, wherein ultimately there is neither merit nor sin, nor non-movement, nor action itself. The unaccomplishment of such actions is the entrance into non-duality. The Bodhisattva Padmavyuha declared dualism is the produced from obsession with self. But true understanding of self does not result in dualism. Who thus abides in non-duality is without ideation, and that absence of ideation is the entrance into non-duality.
So what's the definition of ideation?
Thinking. Coming up with ideas, ideation. That's my quick. Thus who abides in none is without ideation, without thought. The absence of.
Yeah, because if I take away ideation and just say ideas, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so instead of direct experience, you're thinking and turning it into a thought with words and pictures and.
So as soon as we've thought something, we're off the path.
Off the path? No, you're in one part of the path. You're on one side of the path. You're not off it. You're never off it.
Oh, right. Right. Okay. The Bodhisattva Siragarbha declared, duality is constituted by perceptual manifestation. Non-duality is objectlessness. Therefore, non-grasping and non-rejection is the entrance into non-duality. I would love for that sentence to just be clearer. Therefore, non-grasping and non-rejection is the entrance into non-duality. The Bodhisattva Kandortara declared darkness and light are dualistic, but the absence of both darkness and light is non-duality. Why? At the time of absorption in cessation, there is neither darkness nor light. And likewise, with the nature of all things, the entrance into equanimity is the entrance into non-duality.
So these two really make me think about the merging of difference and unity. That whole thing where it's just about these dualisms and saying, right in light there is darkness, but don't treat it as darkness. And right in darkness there is light, but don't see it as light. This whole thing about the dualism and non-duality.
It made me think about black holes and time inside black holes and light inside black holes.
Yeah, I went right to black holes myself, something that absorbs everything and reflects nothing.
I would like to mention that I don't know if you guys have heard on the news, but they have discovered the oldest black hole, and it was created before 1 second after the Big Bang. So the concept of having a star, wait for it to go supernova or, collapsing itself and become a black hole, that's out of the question because stars didn't show up until quite a while later. So how do you have the Big Bang and a black hole right there at the same time? It's kind of non-duality.
I was just about to say that's non-dualistic.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we're going to continue reading. I think we're at the Bodhisattva Radna Mudrahasta declared, "It is dualistic to detest the world and to rejoice in liberation, and neither detesting the world nor rejoicing in liberation is non-duality. Why? Liberation can be found where there is bondage, but where there is ultimately no bondage, where is there need for liberation? The mendicant who is neither bound nor liberated does not experience any like or dislike, and thus he enters non-duality. The Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva Manikuttaraja declared, "It is dualistic to speak of good paths and bad paths. One who is on the path is not concerned with good or bad paths. Living in such unconcern, he entertains no concepts of path or non-path. Understanding the nature of concepts, his mind does not engage in duality. Such is the entrance into non-duality." The Bodhisattva Satyananda declared, "It is dualistic to speak of true and false. When one sees truly, one does not ever see any truth. So how could one see falsehood? Why? One does not see with the physical eye, one sees with the eye of wisdom. And with the wisdom eye, one sees only insofar as there is neither sight nor non-sight. There, where there is neither sight nor non-sight, is the entrance into duality." Isn't this all like the beginning of the Shinshin Ming? Okay.
That eye of wisdom stuff sure had that feel.
When the bodhisattvas had given their explanations, they all addressed the crown prince, Manjushri. "Manjushri, what is the bodhisattva's entrance into non-duality?" Manjushri replied, "Good sirs, you have all spoken well. Nevertheless, all your explanations are themselves dualistic. To know no one teaching, to express nothing, to say nothing, to explain nothing, to announce nothing, to indicate nothing, and to designate nothing. That is the entrance into non-duality.
Then the crown prince Manjushri said to Vachi Vimalakirti, "We have all given our own teaching, noble sir. Now may you elucidate the teaching of the entrance in the principle of non-duality."
Thereupon, the Kuche Vimalakirti kept his silence, saying nothing at all. The crown prince Manjushri applauded the Laka Vimalakirti. Excellent, excellent, noble sir. This is indeed the entrance into non-duality of bodhisattvas. Here there is no use for syllables, sounds, and ideas. When the teachings had been declared, 5,000 bodhisattvas entered the door of Dharma of non-duality and attained tolerance of the birthlessness of things.
I think this is why we're like silent in retreats.
It's true. You know, we've got another like 7 minutes until 8 o'clock. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to stop here and take our 15 minutes of creation? Or do you want to keep going into the new chapter? Ed shakes his head. He doesn't know. No, I don't.
I'm voting for stopping at this point.
Ah, okay.
Let the digestion settle.
Yeah, I vote to stop here too.
We
Me
had a
too.
lot of information.
Donna says stopping.
Thomas, okay, let's stop. That's the majority, I think. Okay, so we're gonna stop here at chapter number 9.
We aren't meeting next week because of the intensive.
No, okay.
So we'll meet on the 22nd on chapter 9. Page 172.
Wow, and then we're gonna have a feast. You will eat such food as you have never.
Peg couldn't believe that we weren't done yet. She said, "What are you doing? Is it a seminar?" But she's been working hard on her book. So when we finish, maybe we go to her book and then go to Sutherland's book about, so we can decide. But anyway, she couldn't believe it. That we
You
were
can tell her
close.
we're all waiting for Vimalakirti to come tell us
Give
we're
us
done.
the last word, really. We have to
Right.
get to the end. Okay. 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 Is there someone that would like to share what they came up with? Or what is... Yes, Donna.
Can I share the screen, Kim? Thank you. So this was pretty exciting, actually. I created this thinking of non-duality, so it was really quite simple. I just asked it to create a spiral that does not start and end. but the first attempt, it does start and end. So that wasn't the greatest. Then I asked it to make it tighter, round, more roundness, and that it should be in brilliant color. So
No.
it went a little further. And then I said, can you make more and more and more and more circles that are super thin and almost indistinguishable? And then I was very pleased with the results. And at first, when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, there's no lines. But if you look, you can see all the tiny, tiny, tiny lines. So I was really impressed by it. It almost looks like fingerprints and super, super tiny lines. So then I was even more pleased and excited, because the first time when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, it's just a big blur.
Yeah, it's like it's iridescent.
It is. It's pretty cool. Thank you.
You.
Thank you, Donna. You're so artistic.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else interested in jumping off the high dive?
I can read.
Great.
The newspapers declare the bad men are at it again. They don't feel a need to give a sense of when it will stop, just that it's happening and will continue to happen. These bad men behaving very badly. These bad men who have 10, 20, 5 years to left to walk the earth, to step on a path of wetness, just seconds after a spring rain, to feel and hear the squelch of mud sucking at their patent leather shoes. There's a limited time to look down at each green weed, each slender blade of leaves, to feel wind's fingers caress the head that's lost its boyish curls, to smell the bobcat's pee, the rot of decaying hay dying in the meadows, to sneeze out moldy spores. What makes a bad man live the way he does? How many screams, how much neglect, how many fights, how many spankings hammer a nail crooked, until bent enough just so, the carpenter doing the hammering spits in disgust at how easily the nail has bent, and trudges off to find another nail to hammer. Is that how it happens? Is that how a bad man forgets to look for yellow finches landing in the sunflowers? Is that how muscles rip and handcuffs rub a burn on wrists? All those good people screaming in the streets, who made them? What sparks the flames that burn so bright in good and bad men's hearts? How many oceans, how many water fountains, how many spring rains does it take to put out that fire and feed a bloom?
Makes me think of Joan Baez. Or whoever wrote that song.
Go. Class 16. All ideas are constructed thoughts. The pattern of defining this and that, giving it a name, making it smaller, and putting it on a shelf with the attitude of knowing. This is the dualistic way. To have sin and to be without sin only exist within dualistic thought patterns, defining sin as self and selflessness as without sin. time and space. Matter, and this quotes, matter itself is void. Voidness does not result from the destruction of matter, but the nature of matter itself is voidness. Vows do not exist dualistically. And then my part, they do not create an other. And then quotes again, dualism is produced from obsession with self, but true understanding of self does not result in dualism. If I learn from the horrors of the world, or if I learn from its beauty, I name these as a good path and a bad path. Earlier, the Buddha said, have I ever taught? Or he asked, have I ever taught? And the reply was, no, Buddha, you have never taught. To know one teaching, to know no one teaching, to express nothing, to say nothing, to explain nothing, to announce nothing, to indicate nothing, and to designate nothing. That is the entrance into non-duality. And then my part back again, even to say I know nothing has still created an I. Vimalakirti kept his silence. This is meditation. And then my question, but aren't we also stuck? Don't we need more?
Yeah, to me, that's dukkha. Wanting more, feeling like this is not quite enough.
I can read if you want. Oops, maybe. That way. The picture that came to mind was something I saw somewhere, maybe one of those pictures that come across my computer when it starts up. Arched windows with many panes, forming a pyramid, one atop the other, just being there. The overall impression was of duality, the duality of what was on this side, what you could see through the panes, and then the non-duality of what was on the other side, because what was on the other side was just what was on the other side. It would not be seen through the panes. You would not look forward into the panes. It would just be what it was. Now, if you chose to turn around, then after going through the panes, if you chose to turn around, then the non-duality would be in front of you again and again. If you would experience the duality of where you were and the pains, if you went to the other side and didn't turn around, you would not experience duality. But if, like an Escher drawing, it could go on and on forever. And what of Vimalakirti? Would he just go straight through silently, not acknowledging the duality? And would he immerse in the non-duality? Immerse himself in the non-duality. Thank you.
If I unmute, I'll give it a shot. Shoot, and I just lost my file. Gosh darn it. Okay, hang on a second. Can't make this thing go back to what it was. All right, I'll just read from what I had. This was just the first line or so was just something that popped into my head, then followed a bunch of lines that I had marked that got my attention, and then a last little conclusion or statement from myself. So much needed attention to so many addictions to humanness in all life's singular permutations. That was the first perception. And then these are the quotes that just really stuck to me. To see the doors of all liberations and the door of one liberation is the entrance into non-duality. Duality is produced from obsession with self, but true understanding of self does not result in dualism. That made me happy. It is dualistic to speak of good paths and bad paths. When one sees truly, one does not even see any truth. So how could one see falsehood? And that's just brilliant. It is dualistic to detest the world and to rejoice in liberation, and neither detesting the world nor rejoicing in liberation is non-duality. Liberation can be found where there is bondage, but where there is ultimately no bondage, where is there need for liberation? That's, as Starlet likes to say, that's a drop the mic statement. Then another drop the mic thing was where it said, thereupon the Lichavi Vimalakirti kept his silence. And that left me with the thought that silence is the encyclopedia for duality. That's it.
What was your first line again, Ed?
Hey, come on, I make these things up on the spot.
Hey, I know, that's why I asked right away.
Now, the first line was, so much needed attention to so many addictions to humanness in all life's singular permutations.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Ed, I'm not teasing. I really would like to hear that first line once again, if you don't mind.
Okay. The first 3 times are free, being a good Buddhist. After that, got to ante up. So much needed attention to so many addictions to humanness in all life's singular permutations.
There's a t-shirt. A t-shirt. That's a t-shirt.
Addictions to humanness. Yeah, man, you got something there.
I don't remember what the other one was for a t-shirt.
It was contained in the first paragraph of what we read, I think.
If somebody, can somebody pull that out and send that to me? I might try and make a t-shirt.
I would like to read. Okay. Non-duality. Is that a different way of saying whole? If I think of myself dualistically, am I dividing myself, breaking myself? If I think of myself as good and evil, as body and mind, as creatively writing and sitting in front of a blank page uninspired, as angry and conciliatory, as a sinner and a saint, is non-duality the ability to see myself wholly, to accept the whole of me without judgment, knowing that I can improve? But in my essence, the inclusions in my diamond make me perfect.
Well, I can read. damn, all day I was thinking about the virtue of irrationality and then got squelched by all the wise bodhisattvas in the Vimalakirti Sutta, reasoning, that's going to become reasoning, so brilliantly describing non-duality. And I thought they were so brilliant using such rational thought to describe non-duality. And I was convinced I was all wrong and that Buddhism, it's going to be Buddhism, is really all rational. And then I was not so far off when Vimalakirti said, there is no use for syllables, sounds, or ideas. Finally, a comrade in my quest for irrationality.
So I think it was Manjushri that ended up saying that. I don't think Vimalakirti ever said anything.
He just didn't say anything.
Right. Manjushri was like, oh, that was great. That was great. No syllables, no sounds.
Yeah, so thanks for that. I'll make a correction. Or maybe just say that Vimalakirti said it all by saying nothing or something.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's a good way to go.
I was so excited today. The virtue of irrationality. And then so depleted with our reading tonight until we got to the end.
I was thinking of like asking AI to make a rock and roll poster with Vimalakirti doing a mic drop.
I want to see that.
I do too.
Metallica style, really.
Mhm.
If somebody can pull that off, it's Vimalakirti.
Right.
Mhm.
And AI.
Sure, you can get a picture of Vimalakirti doing air guitar.
Yeah.
There you go.
Really? Melen, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, not really. I just I just acknowledge non-duality tonight.
This is good. This is good. Just silently sit. Really.
Well, welcome back, Milan, to America.
Thank you.
We're sorry.
Okay, well, we're at our time. So everyone have a good rest of their day or sleep or whatever it will be. And we won't be here next week, but we will be starting our reading of the feast week after next. Chapter 9.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Pleasure to be with you.
Good night.